This is E-Commerce Uncensored. Brought to you by Fast Forward Unlimited. We're coming to you fully loaded and exposed with all the strategies and techniques for growing your e-commerce business.
Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of E-Commerce Uncensored. This is episode number 103. My name is Kevin Manel, and I'm here with
Jason Caruso and Paul Chu.
In today's episode, we're going to be expanding a little bit on last week's episode, which was a beginner's guide to Facebook ads. So if you want to get started with Facebook ads, you're not sure where to start, listen to our last episode. But we're going to talk a little bit more detail about that.
Yeah, in that podcast, we talked about audiences, we talked about budget, we talked about a lot of like little things, and we want to take a little bit of a deeper dive into audiences. But before we do, we were just having a conversation today with one of our clients, and they basically have tasked us with the responsibility of creating a more robust email type strategy. And what they've been doing up until this point is sending out a lot of emails, like offer emails, just like 20% off, 10% off, or whatever. And they're getting a little bit like stagnant in terms of growing their revenue from a email perspective. And we're talking a lot about sort of the importance of creating audiences. That's our podcast. Right. Creating relationships. Right. Not just like sending out an offer like here's 10%, here's 20%. In fact, I believe we talked about this with Josh about how he's having a lot of his success sending out more relationship type storytelling emails. Which brings me to the point of that conversation, which is sort of your email is not just about pushing offers, right? It's about creating a relationship with your customers or clients or whoever. And, what we find, with Klaviyo, right, is that it's really designed around storytelling type, relationship type building, right? Mm-hmm. And so if you're sending out emails, you're sending out too many offers, if you want to use an email platform that is designed sort of around, not only just the offers, but actually building relationships, then you're going to want to stop doing what you're doing, whether it's, I don't want to name any names, but regardless of who you're using, you should be switching over to Klaviyo.
Yeah, and when you use these kind of relationship building emails and you get to know your audience a little bit better and you gather some more information rather than just sending out offers, Klaviyo is a platform that's going to allow you to take that data and then turn it into sales. Use what you learn about them.
It's always about sales, but it's like how you go about getting that like lifetime value of a customer up, right? Like, fine, they may take you up on an offer, but
yeah, I feel like this is like becoming more and more the conversation we have with our clients. Like we had it yesterday with our client, like offer, stop. We need to stop with the offers. Get to know your customers. Tell them about your product.
Well, they're gonna get to know you more than you're gonna know them, but you'll know their behaviors.
Right, exactly.
You'll definitely know their behaviors. And send out emails like that, like talk about different like topics, see what they're interested in. And like when they click on the email, you can kind of create audiences. It kind of actually goes into this whole audience building or creation or whatever on Facebook. It's the same thing with Klaviyo.
Well, it's what can like differentiate yourself from kind of like the big guys who you really feel like you can't compete with.
Right.
If you have a similar product that like Walmart sells, you're obviously not, especially at the very beginning, not going to be able to compete with Walmart. So do it differently. Don't be just a store. Be a relationship. Be a friend, I guess.
Right.
An email friend.
Yeah. So if you're using something other than Klaviyo, you got to stop and go to ecommerceuncensored.com/email and sign up. Use our link. They just track back the, where the traffic is coming from. We don't necessarily, it's not an affiliate link. It just tells them that you guys came through our podcast, and they give us credit for it. So without further ado,
and after you do that,
Go to
over to our Facebook group.
right,
Join that.
ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook.
Yeah, because we're talking.
Facebook.
You do that a lot.
I do that a lot. Facebook.
ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook.
Right.
And because we talk a lot, Klaviyo, we,
Dude, I do videos in there.
Yeah.
Like I've been doing more and more videos. I did a video about Facebook, and recently, what was it about?
it was that you talked about the hack. You were going to
Yeah, the
talk about a
Facebook hack. Yeah, I'm not going to
and-
get into it here, but if you want to know what that hack is, go into the group.
Yeah, absolutely.
ecommerceuncensored.com/fish. Facebook. All right, so let's talk about audiences. Audiences are probably, in Facebook, probably the most important thing you can do.
But last week you made me gloss over the pixel on the website. But now you're saying that audiences are the most important. So okay, all right.
No, because
Whenever it's convenient for you, Jason.
whenever you're done, I'll finish.
Wow, you are in a bad mood today.
I am in a bad mood. I will admit that.
At least you own it.
I'm in a bad mood today.
Well, why don't you start with what is an audience? I mean, anybody in marketing
Well,
probably gets it.
yeah,
But
yeah, exactly. So, Facebook audiences really are just groups of people who do certain actions, right? Or like certain things, or are part of a certain demographic, or part of whatever. Like whether they, people who, for instance, somebody goes to your checkout but then leaves, right? You create an audience of those people who went to checkout but did not complete their order. And what you would do with that information is find, potentially other people just like that, because people who are adding your product to their cart are usually people who are interested in your products, right? And you can create these audiences throughout your entire checkout process, whether it's, your checkout, whether it's post-purchase funnels, whether it's somebody just adding a cart to the you can create all these different audiences and build your marketing around these audiences. So that's kind of like the gist of what an audience is. But why it's so powerful is because, when you have, let's say, a group of people who've purchased from you, right? So let's say you have an audience of 1,000 customers. You can then tell Facebook, hey, create a lookalike audience to all these people who have purchased my product. So now Facebook will go out, grab those emails, and match them up to the profiles of people who, I think it's 6 data points. I know that changes.
It's always changing, yeah.
But yeah, so you'll and then you can create audiences, lookalike audiences that are 3% or 1%, 3%, 5% lookalike, so 1% looks the most like that person. And as you go out, it
gets broader.
It gets broader.
Okay.
And I think that's one of the first places we start sometimes with new clients. If a client has our existing sales, right, and they want to get into Facebook and Instagram advertising, we say, can we have an email list of your current customers who have bought from you? Because what you can do is you can take that email list. I think it takes email and phone numbers, right, Jason? Or
Takes
you can
email,
do
you could do
and/or.
you really could do anything that they collect. I mean, if you have a school that they've been to or a year they graduate, whatever. It just takes whatever data, I think.
So if you were using Klaviyo, you can even if you have segmented lists in Klaviyo, you can export each segmented list, create different audiences for each list, and you just basically import the email addresses into Facebook, and Facebook will go ahead and match up those emails that you have with Facebook email addresses, because you need an email address on Facebook.
So the point of this is, it's always data, right? The more data, you're trying to get the lowest conversion cost, right? Cost of acquisition as cheap as possible. And you do that by, right? When you put an ad on TV, it's okay, let me put an ad on Lifetime. And you kind of think who's watching Lifetime, but I watch Lifetime with my wife, right? So I'm not going to buy something that's going to help my period.
The womanly issues.
Womanly issues, right?
Is that what happens on Lifetime?
I'm just saying, they they have a general demographic, women 25 to 35, and they generalize it in that sense. But for a guy watching it, a lot of the commercials aren't going to be tailored to me. Whereas, with Facebook, these audiences, and you can even like put 1,000 emails or 1,000 phone numbers or 1,000 whatever. I think you have to have the email though. I'm not 100% sure, but you can put all these data points in there and then say, okay, out of this list, only do men, only do women, right? Like tell Facebook, only target men, only target women out of these people that I've uploaded. Because maybe you have certain campaigns for women, certain campaigns for men. So TV doesn't allow you to do that, right? Like it's on in the house and whoever the hell's watching it, they're going to see that commercial. So the ROI on that is, maybe not just ROI, but acquisition cost is going to be a little bit higher because really it's just brand awareness at that point, right? Mm-hmm. Where when you have these data points in Facebook, it's just the cost of acquisition is much cheaper.
Right. And were you going to say that?
Yeah, I just have a question. I guess whether you have an email list or not, like roughly how long would you say it takes people to find like their audience? Well, the whole point, right, is to find who your customer is so you know. How long do you think that takes?
Well, Facebook needs 100. Like 100 customers.
100 customers.
Yeah, you can import a list of 100 and Facebook will have enough from those 100 people to then create a broader audience.
Right, to start with. Yeah. The more you get, the better at it that they get. If you have 1,000, it's obviously better than 100, but you can start off with 100.
And I think that, that's a good point because building the audience, I think, can be hard at the beginning, because when you go in to start an ad and I keep saying Google, I don't know why. Facebook wants you to add a demographic or an age or an interest, and that could be sometimes difficult to exactly know what to do. So instead, and we talked about this yesterday, we outlined the whole process of putting a piece of content out there that's going to attract the right audience. So if you have a product that solves a problem and you have, say, just a piece of content or a blog that you can advertise on Facebook and somebody clicks on it, you can then identify that person that is an interest, right? So you can make a broader audience and send people to a web page on your website and then create an audience from all the traffic that web page is getting on Facebook.
You pretty much could do anything you want with it. Quite frankly, you can have a broad audience and then you can kind of like make it get more tighter. You can
even if your objective at the beginning was like not necessarily sales or something at the beginning, it was like, I need to find out who my audience is. So you put something out there that's going to attract that audience, and then you build that audience in Facebook.
Right, and that's a lot of what we do with our Facebook stuff. Like we'll put a piece of content out that we want to attract that will attract a certain person, and then you start building audiences. And we admitted that yesterday to one of our clients that we have all this in our head and we don't communicate it well enough, and we start handing them all these things that we've done, and they're like they're just pieces of the whole of the story, and they don't quite. This is actually Paul actually was the one who
he's the voice of reason in this whole thing, because we are very bad. Jason and I are very bad at communicating. When we move very fast paced, so we just want to do things. We just want to get it done.
We want to execute,
right?
Mm-hmm. Right, because what everything comes down to is execution. But the client always wants to see the planning side of it, so that they understand what you're giving them, and it makes sense because they see things out of context, right? And I know that's kind of a tangent, but we sent them like this blog post and like, let's forget about that. And we're like, no, that's the biggest piece of all this. So
that's what's going to identify people who are going to be interested in your product.
Right. And that's what's going to help you create the audience. And that's what's going to, so yeah, that's important. Putting, Russell Brunson talks about putting the bait, like the right, and my stepfather used to say this to me all the time. He's like, if you're going to go shark fishing, you're not going to put a little minnow on like a little hook and stick it in like the Long Island Sound, right? Like there's no sharks there, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, if you want to go shark fishing, you got to like put big giant fish, tuna, on a big hook out in the ocean, And Russell talks about this as well, like finding the right group of people, using the right bait to lure, like to catch them, and then from there start building your campaigns around those people.
Yeah, and even in the ad text, you are a big. You all right?
Yeah, my ear's just hurting these things.
We a lot of times say just let the ad do the targeting. Speak in the ad a certain way. If you want to hit a younger demographic, maybe you put like a young girl, you put some like fruity little icons in the ad or something like that. You want to talk to a higher level audience, maybe you speak in a more higher level in the
like
ad.
maybe your grammar's correct. Just stupid little things like that. Like depending on who you're trying to attract, and that also is targeting too. So like, I guess what you're trying to say is like, don't get too crazy with your targeting. Let the ad do the targeting and build the audience.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I mean, audiences are really, really powerful. There's a lot of different things you can do with them. I think, it's kind of hard to go over all of them, but for the most part, they have custom audiences in Facebook, which are like audiences you can upload, whether it be your email address.
I brought this up for us to look at.
Are you going to go
just
through?
To make sure, because this always changes.
Yeah, there's custom and lookalike, right?
Yeah, these are all of them.
Right. So then, we forgot to mention, you can create audiences around people who've watched your videos.
Oh, yeah.
And how long they've watched them.
Can't believe you forgot about that.
Forgot about that. Yeah, like they watch the video for 10% of the time, 20, 50, 75, 90.
Which I think blows people's minds sometimes when we tell them for the first time, like, really?
Yeah.
At times how long they watch it? Just think about that. If you have a 2-minute long video and somebody watches, people don't usually watch a full 2-minute video usually, even if they don't make it to the very end where the credits come up or the link comes up.
Right.
If you could see someone watching 75% of one of your videos, that person
must be interested.
Mm-hmm. Must be interested, right? Exactly.
Right. So, there's there's a lot of actually audiences. There's custom audiences, which are audiences that you upload to Facebook, whether it be your email, whether it be, customer lists or whatever. Then there's like website traffic. So people have visited certain pages. Those are an audience, right?
You can even do people who visited one page but not another
well,
page.
That was the checkout we were talking about. If they go to the checkout but not the thank you page, or if they just add to the cart and just see the cart. There's app activity, which we don't really use that much. There is, what else is in there? Engagement. Oh, engagement's a big one too. Mm-hmm. You can create audiences around that's the video one, but you can create audiences around people who have engaged with your ads and engaged with your videos.
Shared comments.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of things, but if you're at the point where you're struggling like scaling your Facebook ads, or you're having trouble like getting sales, it's probably because you haven't started building audiences of people who actually want your stuff. Mm-hmm. So you should really look into that. And that's it. I think that's all I really have to say about audiences. Kev, I don't know anything else.
Yeah, I think that's
we can go on forever.
Yeah.
Talking about these things and how to use them and what to do and what not to do. But I think, we would never end, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of them get even more easier to use too, depending if you're using like Shopify. Shopify creates these events, and then you can create audience.
Well, there's actually there's also a new Pixel tool in Facebook that I got the email for that basically helps you create these events, which are cool. And then you can you can get creative. Like somebody has visited this page and then this page, but not that page, and then they visited that page, but not this other one. You can go as deep as you want.
I just saw another one on there when I was just looking at before we started. When on website traffic, time spent on the website.
Yeah,
which we haven't really used yet, but
you can't keep up with it. Yeah. I mean, there's literally, I'm sure, a team of people who are just working on these type features, and they're awesome. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, guys, ecommerceuncensored.com/email takes you to Klaviyo. Sign up. You want to start building relationships with your clients. If you want to join our group, which is growing slowly, but it is growing, ecommerceuncensored.com/Facebook.
Very good.
Nailed it. That's it.
Anything else, guys?
All right, guys.
Nope. Thank you guys so much for listening. Check us out, as always, at ecommerceuncensored.com, and we'll talk to you guys real soon.
Later. See ya.